Hey guys, Sundown here. This is gonna be my One Punch Man chapter review. What chapter is it? 126, Psychos. And I'm not sure what the general reception of this chapter was. I mean, most chapters from Murata are generally received very well. But this chapter, I really enjoyed. I'm not sure what it was. Maybe it was because we got more of Saitama and Flashy, which I've really wanted. I've wanted to focus a little bit more on Saitama because we haven't seen him for a long bit. And maybe because we got to see like more of that comedic value out of the two of them, but also we got to see the contrast between them, the polarity, the duality in this chapter. Duality is my favorite word now. We got to see the duality in terms of how they act, in terms of how they care. Even though Flash now is amping up his levels of care just bit by bit for Saitama, I feel. But also in terms of how they fight. So let's get right down to it. Cover page looks cool. We go to the first page where the two heroes, Flashy Flash and Saitama, along with the toilet monster, or the toilet monster, yeah. They're going down this railway, and they now enter a cavern where it's full of these gold veins and ruby. I'm not even sure what you call them. Rubies are embedded in the walls and stuff like that. Basically, they've come to this mineral shaft, I think. I'm not sure if gold is usually in stuff areas like that. Like, would you usually find gold next to rubies? I'm not sure if it works like that, though I have no idea. That's just a very big presumption I'm making. But they go to this cavern, which is kind of spiraling down. And like I said, there's all these gold veins. It looks like there's been a lot of work put into this. You see little outposts and stuff like that being built. You see these little connectors and bridges and stuff linking things together. You see lights and stuff like that being put up on strategic locations around this cavern to light up the area so that they can see better. And you see these giant creatures, these giant ant-like creatures, and then you see these smaller ant-like creatures, and they're essentially the larger ones are the ones digging through. They're powering through everything, breaking everything down, and then you get those smaller ones collecting the gold, collecting the rubies, and packing them into these bags. So Flash immediately makes the assumption that he's like, this is how you guys must be sourcing your funds for evil deeds for the Monster Association. You get two ants flash a light on Flashy Flash and Saitama, and then they start getting attacked. But going back to that point, this being the source of the funds for the Monster Association, Flash makes a really good point here, because we see Psychos. We see in chapter like 123, I think it was, or 124, with the three meat bodies, or 3 or 4 meat bodies that she has left to her that she can use, and kind of in the same way that she used the Gyoro meat suit. And they're in these tankers which are keeping the bodies alive, essentially, outside of her using her psychic abilities on them. They're either feeding them nutrients or just keeping them alive, much like keeping them in stasis, essentially. We know that we know that Psycho, is intelligent, but is she intelligent? Is she like scientific intelligent, or is she more socially intelligent? Is she more historically intelligent in terms of how her history with monsters, humans, and how she knows how to deal with them? Is she more savvy with like finances and manipulating people and stuff like that, or is she actually like I said, scientifically intelligent, where she designed these pods where these meat suits are being kept, where she designed what she drank at the end of this chapter that amped up her powers, the crack juice, quote unquote. So I really want to know what it is that she's capable of mentally, because if, in my opinion, she's not really the scientific kind, then that brings up the question of who's been creating these pods for these meat suits, the drink that she drank, and is that where some of her funds are going? So are some of her funds going into scientific research, stuff like the breakdown of Metal Knight's suit and stuff like that? Are these funds mostly to bring in people, maybe humans and not just monsters, and she's paying them off to find out more about the scientific side of monsters? So rather than people just being shit scared and running away from every monster they see, she's chosen to actually analyze them, see how they can become so powerful, so strong, and then trying to replicate that in herself. Because then we see at the end of the chapter, she seems to, anytime someone gets forehead veins, you know that they're about to kick some ass. Anyway, we then get an awesome part of the chapter where Flashy Flash and Saitama get to show their skills, and this is what I was talking about in terms of duality. So Saitama jumps, Flashy Flash jumps out of the cart. Saitama's cape comes off because of the toilet monster, and this is I just really enjoy this chapter because of stuff like this. And we see this a few times. This chapter might be 2 times, but you look at this page 6, where Saitama one punches one of these giant ant creatures, and Flashy Flash beautifully dissects one of these ant creatures, and it just shows the parallels once again. Saitama, one punch, absolutely brutal, pure power, has completely decimated and has caused this thing to explode due to the amount of force that he's put into it. And its bits and pieces have gone flying everywhere, splattered on all sides of the cabin's walls. And then you see Flash with this elegance, this beauty, and instead of like bits and pieces going flying in every different direction, they've just been sliced off, and like they kind of move away slightly, but it's not a pure power feat, it's a pure speed feat. So I loved seeing them in close quarters and getting to see that kind of polarity between them. And then you see Saitama, he just stops after all the force that he's put through. He's just kind of stuck in midair, whereas Flash is this beam of light showing the speed once again. So I thought that was a really solid panel, a really solid page, and that really got me like hyped for this chapter. I was like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted to see. So once again, as they're going and they're trying to fit themselves back into the cart, you see once again that polarity, that duality between them. Flashy Flash having done flips and shit, and lands very delicately, and Saitama kind of just goes plop in. And this is where I was actually really happy about this chapter as well. Flash looks at Saitama and he's shocked. He's just like, yo, shit, like I've seen stuff that this guy's been doing all the while through this journey, but this guy is actually keeping up. And Saitama just looks at Flash and he's like, hey, not bad, you're kind of fast, which pisses Flashy off a bit. But then we move on. Saitama readjusts his cape, and as he does this, an ant creature from like a small doorway puts out, or like reaches out an arm, stabs into Saitama's cape and pulls him out of the cart. Flash, this is the first time we've seen it. Flash looks genuinely worried by the fact that Saitama has been pulled out and has remained behind in the presence of all of these creatures. And you see his initial reaction. He's just like, oh shit, hey. And then he's reaching his arm out and everything. And then just his face on page 10 when he's just looking back and he's like, shit, what do I do now? And then he's immediately met with the fact that he's about to fall off the track, so he doesn't really have much time to do anything. But I really liked the fact that Flash seems to genuinely care at least a little bit about Saitama's health, That's not something I think he'd grant to most people. So the fact that he's given that element of caring and an element of wanting to see Saitama stay alive, that's different from Flash, and I'm here for that. I respect that, and I want to see more of that from him in terms of to Saitama. So then Flash, as he approaches the break in the railway essentially, and all these ant creatures behind him literally breaking through the tunnel trying to get at him, he amps up the speed a little bit with the toilet monster still attached to him, and once again you get to see that elegance, that beautiful maneuverability of Flash as he weaves his way through all of these ant monsters, landing hits and landing slices all the way through, and then he's just plastered to the wall looking at what he's done. All of the ant monsters have got some sort of they've been sliced through. I'm assuming they were already dead with what Flashy had done to them, and he's just waiting to see what happens. And Satsuki and I we felt that maybe this was Flash also trying to help Saitama. Like, why didn't he just jump to the other side? So we feel that he attacked these monsters in the hope that maybe if Saitama was able to make it out, he'd be able to make it out through their carcasses. So I think he was hoping that I've killed these guys. If Saitama can at least survive the 2 or 3 that were against him, he can make it through here. But what he wasn't expecting was to see Saitama come out from behind these guys and literally decimate them again. Once again, we see those parallels. This time, not quite a side-by-side fashion, but we get to see Flash having killed all of those monsters and Saitama erupting from behind them, literally decimating them once again. Explosion of guts, blood, eyes, organs, all that good stuff, limbs. And Saitama's just there with gold, with a bag of gold stuck to his like jaw and under his arm. And I loved this once again, this parallel that we get to draw between the two of them and how they fight, how they act. What I also loved about this double spread in particular, when Saitama makes it out of that tunnel, is the fact that you can tell Murata knows exactly what he's drawing. From the center of the explosion, from the tunnel, you see a lot of momentum. You get to see that explosion of force. The raw explosion is occurring at its fastest and at its most explosive pace right at the beginning of the tunnel. And then you see everything as you get further and further away from that kind of epicenter of destruction. Things are starting to slow down. They're not moving as fast as they are at the beginning, but they're still moving at a pace, at a high rate of speed. And I love just the explosion of blood we get as well. It looks like a horror movie, something from The Shining or some shit. But once again, props to Murata for making it look so amazing. And that's actually another point I'd like to bring up about this chapter, was the sharpness and the artwork were insane. I mean, like, I know Murata and One are always very adamant about how the artwork comes out for these particular chapters, the manga chapters. But this chapter in general, for some reason, I'm not sure if it was the scanlations, I'm not sure if it was just the clarity of the chapter in and of itself, but it looked clean, it looked good. So the guys who cleaned it up and stuff like that, awesome job, much respect. So then once again you see Flash looking at Saitama like, holy shit, this guy's still alive. So rather than like being shocked and wasting a step, you see them both kind of run along the railway together towards the cart, and they leap towards the other side. And this is another thing that I liked, once again showing, this whole chapter is just showing the kind of how they're both different sides of the same coin almost. You see the running, the kind of the force being emitted by both of these guys as they're running. Flash is this single beam of energy, almost the single transmission of energy, fluid almost, and that shows like his transfer of power, his transfer of speed is very fluid, and he's just pure speed. Whereas Saitama, his is very explosive. The trail behind him is very explosive, very erratic, pure power. So like I'm saying, I'm probably digging too deep into this, but that's the kind of stuff that I picked up on and I thought was cool. Anyway, they leap to the other side, and Saitama notices that shit, the toilet monster's let go of both of them completely. He's collapsed. He's gone. He's blacked out. So Saitama looks back and he's like, "Oh shit, we can't let you fall down. You need to give us directions." And while he grabs for him and opens his mouth to speak, both bags of gold that he just collected drop by, and you get the panel of the century with Saitama realizing just what he's done. He's like, and I was laughing my ass off when I saw this, because that's the only panel I actually saw of this chapter before I read the chapter. I think Zonin tweeted something about it, and I was like, hey, this is pretty funny. Anyway, they land on the other side. They both hop into the cart, and you get Flash for the first time looking at Saitama and saying, "Damn, man, you're actually pretty good. I'm impressed." Saitama obviously looks depressed. He's just like, what's wrong? And Saitama's like, nothing. So Saitama unleashes a bit of his anger on the toilet monster, like, hey, no sleeping, you better get us to where we want to get to, give us good directions. So then we come to Psychos and kind of Tatsumaki, but more Psychos. So she's panicked now. She's like, her telepathy is getting no responses from Rover. She's still kind of under the stress of Tatsumaki's abilities, and she, from one of her cameras, her kind of her Gyoro eyeball kind of things, she sees Saitama and company. She doesn't see Flash. All she notices is this Boldy. Is he a hero too? And I was like, where's your respect? You're about to get your ass kicked and you don't even know it yet. So she sees them coming towards her, and she's like, this Boldy's on his way too? What the hell's going on? So she's like, alright, if even a weirdo like him is going to close in on the inner sanctums, which means, by the way, that the toilet monster is actually leading them to the inner sanctum where Psychos is. She's like, if they're coming here, Tatsumaki's already here, I'm going to have to deal with her myself. I can't wait around for someone to save me. So she uses her psychokinesis to bring this kind of, I'm not even sure what you'd call it. Is it a jar? Is it my words have gone. Some sort of glass, this bottle of some sort of elixir, some sort of potion, and she chugs it down, smashes it against the ground, and her hair just like explodes outwards in power and in pain, it looks like. At the end, the last page is her with her forward veins pulsing, and her hair stuck up on end with her psychic abilities, levitating her hair, levitating a bit of her clothes as well. We get to see disaster level dragon Psychos. And she says that the one whom everyone used to know, so the meat suit, which we're all used to, Gyoro, can't even begin to compare with what she is now, Psychos, and her terrifying psychokinesis. So I think that goes to show, at the very least, that Psychos must be within about high, mid, or very high dragon class monsters. So she's looking for some beef, and I think she's going to get some beef. It'd be nice to see Tatsumaki actually surprised that there's an Esper as strong as, well, not as strong as she is, but nearly or in the realm of being considered strong. So I'd like to see Tatsumaki surprised by that, and maybe for a chapter she looks like she's even losing, and then she just comes back in the next chapter like, bitch, I'm going to show you what a true Esper is like, and then absolutely cleans the floor with it. I'd love to see that. But the fact that both Flash and Saitama are approaching is something that's not good news for someone like Psychos. And if you want more kind of in-depth information, this is basically the end of the review, but if you want more in-depth information and speculations, theories, and stuff like that, definitely go check out the One Punch podcast, which is over on Grim Reaper's channel, where we go into what the elixir could be that should rank. I'm not sure what it is. I went into some really reach worthy shit where it's like it could be the hormones of monsters that have reached their deathbeds. So she's essentially tricking her body into thinking that it's reaching that state of death, so she achieves that Zenkai boost, that I'm about to die. The same thing that Phoenix Man did essentially, and she's just got a liquid form of that. Her body thinks it's about to die. It can either die or explode in power and evolve. And I think personally that's what it is. Kishin made a good point of it could be like monster cells, but all the good points, all the benefits that you get from monster cells have been liquidized, and all the negatives have been kind of strained from it. But once again, that brings up the question of, does Psychos have the intelligence and the capabilities and the items, what are they called, the equipment to be able to do something like that? Or is she funding somebody else to be able to do this? Because she's got a whole bunch of gold, a whole bunch of these minerals and stuff like that. Well, these what's the word? These valuable minerals like rubies and stuff like that. There's got to be something. She's not just spending that on the infrastructure of the Monster Association, right? There's got to be somewhere else where she's spending this, and apart from like her clothes, because like Satsuki mentioned, she got drip. But apart from that, there's got to be something else she's spending this money on. It's got to be something like science. Got to be something like evolving the monsters in a way that she deems fit for herself, for humans maybe. But I'm not sure yet. So let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And I will see you guys in a bit.